get started. I'll call to order the Board of Supervisors workshop meeting. For all those who can, please stand and join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for attending this evening. A couple things I want to go over. So this is different than our Monday meeting next Monday, where this is more of a workshop session. And why are we doing this? Somebody asked us tonight, why can't the 2 or 3 of you get together and talk about these things? We can't. So we want to be transparent. Whenever 2 of us meet, it's a quorum, right? So what we want to do, and this is more of a discussion on things that we want to act upon in the future. It provides transparency. It's community involvement. We want to communicate the message, clear message of the things that we're challenged with in the future. And we'll talk about these things today. The roads in the future, we've got a huge cost with those things. Planning, strategic, financial responsibility, these are all things we're responsible for. We want the supervisor's input and your input. So that's really what the intent of this meeting is tonight. So with that, I'll move on. Anything you want to add?
Nope, you got it. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. We'll move on to the administrative business. This is typically not going to be a meeting where we vote, but there are a couple pressing items in an emergency situation that we will act on. The first is the adoption of the Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Authority for Board of Supervisors meetings.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Robert's Rules of Order.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any communication on that? So that's really just to keep the meeting in line. And look, we usually start with a public comment. We're going to say that to the end, but I guess in this meeting, unless you gentlemen disagree, when we go through items today, there might be questions. I would ask that you step to the podium, state your name, full address, step to the podium and just address us, and we'll answer your questions to the best of our ability. This is not a formal meeting, right? This is more of a discussion.
Right, and I think
Go ahead.
Robert's Rules of Order. It does help a meeting proceed, hopefully without too many interruptions. The chairperson, if you do wish to speak, request the chair say, hey, I'd like to speak, and if he recognizes you, take the podium. If he does not recognize you, which I'm sure he will recognize you.
I will.
But the idea is just to help maintain control, and so there has to be a motion on the floor. It has to be seconded. Once the motion is seconded, then you have discussion. Once the discussion is completed, or if there is no discussion, then you call for the vote. So kind of just parliamentary procedure to try to keep business running smoothly.
And you do have to be a taxpayer resident, and please try to keep it to 5 minutes and be professional. That's all I ask. Okay? So the next is,
You got to call for the vote on that.
I'm sorry. Vote.
I'm in favor, yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. The other thing we're faced with as a township is not only did Mary leave the end of January, so did our zoning and floodplain officer, Sylvia Wack. So we have gone out, we've extended a lot of options in what we want to do there. Some thoughts were hire a full-time person. Some people were like, well, let's bring on a temporary. So we've gone out to a third party that we have vetted very well. And we're going to bring on a third party on an interim basis. And why do we want to do it on an interim? We want to give Bonnie the ability to assess what we really need as a township, but we also need somebody in that role. We've been 40 days without somebody in that role. So as a committee, we've decided on Pella Consulting as a zoning officer in the interim.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Pella Consulting for our zoning officer.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor say aye. Aye, motion carries unanimously.
Incoming voice call from the
I'm sorry.
I hope that was not against
I'm sorry.
Public Works Safety Item Purchase and Approval Reimbursement. Look, as Board of Supervisors, our main concern, our main priority should be the safety of the citizens in our township and our employees. So Mike, I think you want to add some color to this.
Sure. Unfortunately, I didn't bring a list of everything, but there was just some safety items that I think needed to be addressed. Eye wash station. I'm trying to think what all we got in. There was hydrogen peroxide. We got Band-Aids, bee sting supplies, safety glasses, ear protection. There was just a bunch of stuff that they had that might have been scattered. So we talked to Ed, and he's going to set up I guess like a little safety station. I'm kind of fanatical about safety. Not that anybody ever listens to what I ask them, but at least it's there. So hopefully you guys can deploy that. But I forgot my laptop. I don't know how I forgot that tonight, but I had everything broken down. You have to remember what the total cost was on that, $141. The point is, how do we go through it? And Bonnie brought this up since it's an open discussion. What is the official procurement process here?
Well, we don't really have one.
Okay.
There was a threshold, I think it was $2,500, that if we spent more than that,
Okay.
in an emergency situation, they would come to us and say.
Can we add it to the agenda for the next workshop to come up with a procurement process that we can
I
follow?
actually think it's on this one.
It's on the end to discuss.
Yeah, I think it's
the
on the ad next
workshop
meeting. So is that okay if we add that? Because
Yeah.
in this particular case, I think I used Ed's credit card, but in the case of the audio equipment, I used my personal. So, and again, I don't have those totals. I believe it was under $400 for all these microphones, the speaker, the monitor stand, and cables and wire extensions. So,
But reverting back to the safety,
Yes.
we will vote on that.
I'd like to make a motion that, I guess that's why I wanted to ask what the procurement process was. So I guess to accept payment.
So there's no reimbursement if you use his
Yeah,
credit
that's what
card.
I'm saying. I don't need
So-
reimbursement, but how do we declare that we spent township money on safety equipment?
Well, it goes back to, would that have just been purchased in the normal process of,
If it would have, I would have said, yeah, but I don't think it wasn't budgeted, but I would hope it would be a capital expense.
that's a,
Okay, so then I guess it's a.
I would simply say you could
Non-discussion.
motion to approve the
expense.
purchase,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of safety equipment for the Public Works Department.
Yeah, I second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Reimbursement for audio equipment in the municipal side. I think we all benefit from what Mike has done here.
When it worked.
When it works. With the speaker, the video equipment. We're just trying to make these meetings more user friendly. And the expenditure was what, Mike?
Around $400 for everything.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve paying me for that.
Yeah, I second the motion.
We'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 4, new business, items to discuss and review. So we're not voting on these. So there's a resolution 2026 to be determined, amending the Township Manager Ordinance 1075.
So that ordinance was reviewed by the solicitor and is complete. I guess I would have to ask, did you guys get a chance to look it over? And do you have any objection to that?
I don't.
I do not.
Okay, now we have an option. Since it's an ordinance, we can either hold off and do multiple ordinances together.
I prefer the voting to be at the formal meetings.
Okay, that's fine.
And it will be.
Okay.
But I think we all agree, and we've covered this with Bonnie, what the changes are. It's just, I think what this ordinance is just, it's more defining what the role of the township manager is moving forward.
Correct. But since it's an amended ordinance, we do have to advertise it. Okay.
Have we advertised it?
No, that's what I'm kind of asking. If we can advertise it, then we can.
let's make a motion to advertise.
Make a motion to advertise resolution 2026, and I think it's dash 6. You know, on the top of your head, whatever the resolution.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Okay. But we'll make a motion to advertise that resolution, or ordinance amendment 107.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
We'll take a vote, all in favor? Aye, motion carries unanimously. Discuss the process for assessment of identification of workshop discussions.
Asset, that's to be asset identification.
Asset. So look, we have a lot of equipment,
We do.
right? Do we have a good handle on what that equipment is? Oh, maybe Ed does, right? But as a board of supervisors, we don't. And we did have this in the past. I would like to see what that list is. So, and why? So we can plan on, what equipment do we need in the future? A boom mower, hypothetically throwing these out. Plans for trucks, plans for police cars, things like that. About 2 years ago, we ended up buying three police cars in 1 year.
We did.
And we don't want to get into that situation, right?
I agree, yeah.
So we want to plan what the assets are. So if we had a comprehensive list of what major assets we do have, we can assess when we can stagger when we need these.
So who do we commission for that? Would it be the roadmaster and the police department? Or the officer in charge, or?
I think it would be,
I would say
All
both,
your
but
heads.
ultimately Bonnie, I would say it's you.
Yeah. no, I mean, that includes your property and your,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
makes sense.
I'm sure that benefits you as well, nice to know.
They've had that list in the past.
We have, but it
It's
hasn't
not
been
up,
updated.
yeah, it's not been updated in a couple of years, but yeah.
What's the time for the next workshop discussion? Is that, I know there's a lot going on and you're just getting your feet on the ground.
Mm.
Is that a reasonable request to have done
For the next workshop,
for the next workshop?
we can at least probably get a draft, like the big items, I would imagine.
Take a shot at it.
Yeah,
That would be awesome. Okay.
assuming Ed's schedule is open enough for that.
There's some rain days coming up.
Okay, the next item is develop a process for interdepartment, interboard communications to really the board of supervisors and then to the public, right?
Well, my idea behind that item was, there has been cases where we might be working on something, the planning commission may not be aware of it, or the road crew, or the police department. And even within, I think, the planning commission, they're trying to communicate by email, but I don't know, maybe Dave, you can expand on that. Were you able to do like Google Drive and share, or it just sounds like we're still in the 20th century. I just wanted to.
We tried to use Google Meet and the drive, with a common drive, so we all could communicate, keep our files there. But if you don't have a Google account, then you can't access it, you don't get the notices. And since we're all using our own private email accounts, it just didn't take off. We just wanted to make it work.
Okay, thanks. And Bonnie, you might have a better idea on this, but I just thought it would be, and I don't know, I'm not holding your foot to the fire here, but first the question goes to the other supervisors. Do you think this is a reasonable request?
I do, and I'll use the Parks Committee. Pat, I was at your meeting last Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And look, there's been ineffective communication. And I'm not taking a shot at the Parks Committee. It's both ways, right? I think the last meeting we had was very productive. A lot of ideas came out of it.
I think everybody was very enthusiastic.
Correct. And I think that's what we're talking about here.
Right, yeah, I mean, the whole township as a whole, as far as township leadership, committees, boards, it's not that hard. It is the 21st century. We can all have a common, and I don't know what there's lots of options. Like Dave mentioned, we'd have to have Google accounts, so we can't, I don't think everybody's gonna have another email account that they have a Gmail, so there's ways we can do it.
And Greg and Rich and Mike, I think the most important thing is that the committees, let you know what their expectations are, and you let the committees know what your expectations are, so that, there's no wasted time or effort. And it was so great to have you there, Greg. Everybody just shared very openly, what our experiences have been and what our hopes are, and
And this has drug on for years, unfortunately.
it absolutely has.
So my message to the Parks Committee was, give us bullet points. We want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. Pick 3 items, right? And that's what you did.
And as a matter of fact, Greg's suggestion about what the first 3 should be were totally the same as what our first 3 were. But I'm not sure that had ever been conveyed.
It has not.
And on that same note, it would be really nice if that information that Greg received went to all the supervisors, to the roadmaster, to Bonnie, to the planning commission. So, we're all kind of on the same page. I think there's a lot of changes going on. And I don't know that that's transpired, right? I mean, you received the information and, we've been very busy, so but if we had a central location where everybody can access it, or mark who has access, so that Ed could see, oh, wow, they want to pay the walking trail. I mean, I don't know what your 3 items are. You'll have to let me know.
I can tell you.
Okay.
It was, and maybe not this order, pave the walking trails, put in restrooms, not porta potties, and there's a third was a pavilion, right? And there's grants out there to get that kind of money.
Perfect. And that's where I think it would be a good example of, again, everybody in the township leadership knowing pretty close to immediately what's going on,
So if there's an agenda and there's minutes, we could just post those to
A central
this
location.
portal.
Yeah.
And people can see what the priority is.
Right. You can tag people too, like if, for the paid walking trail, I would assume you would tag, Bonnie gets everything, but everybody tags. Planning commission probably should be tagged too, because maybe they're working on something.
Correct.
But anyhow, that was my intent. I just think it's something we need.
So I think the concept's great. I'd love to have an easy way to know, and it's great that Greg went out to meet you guys, and that needs to happen. We all need to interact individually with the community. But yeah, that information has to funnel back to everyone, so that we're all educated. So let's take a little bit of time to think about a good mechanism to make it work. Maybe in the interim, we can just ensure that we copy one another on the email chain.
I do know that the members of the Parks Committee are very open and eager to have our minutes on the township website.
That was a takeaway from the meeting. So look, and I told you all this in the meeting. There should be an agenda, then there should be minutes. And we can post both. Right?
Dave, I'm sorry.
No, Dave.
For collaboration purposes, I think Microsoft Teams and Microsoft is the gold standard. And I don't know if what the township has as far as an enterprise license, but a lot of times if you're going from 50 to 150 or whatever, the jump isn't that much. Initial license costs you money and adding more on. But if you do something like that, and there's other options, there's the Google Workspace enterprise, whatever one you land on, get enough that all the different committees, teams, leadership can have access to that. And then the permissions, are easy to set on who has access and who doesn't. You can provide a lot of public access. Things can go to the website pretty easily.
Yeah, now, if I'm not mistaken, we do have, I was waiting for a report back from the computer guys, who now does our computer maintenance, who didn't establish it, but we do have a Microsoft enterprise license. The downside is it's very expensive, but that's another thing we're going to have to talk about. For me, as a cost-saving item, I was thinking, let's get rid of the enterprise license because of that. It is extremely expensive, and we don't need it, but maybe this would be a case to hold on to, because Microsoft Teams is nice.
That's the gold standard, I think, but, you may find things that do the same thing for lesser dollar amount. If you're looking at 100 licenses might be the most, that's small for enterprise.
It is,
So,
and I think that's the licensing we have right now, 100. So,
We'll probably already paid.
we did, but then there's monthly or a year, I forget what it is.
And that may be a great platform because so many people are
Already know how to
it
use
was
it.
built for it.
We use it all the time.
Okay, so the agreement is we're gonna try to come up with a solution. I guess I'll look into Microsoft Teams unless I don't wanna jump in front of Bonnie. Do you have a preference?
I
You don't
feel
like
that
Teams?
you already know my thoughts on Microsoft.
That's why I didn't mention it, so, but it does work. Yeah.
I am not a fan of Teams, Outlook. I love Word, Excel, they're necessary, but as a method for communication, I don't think Microsoft is the best.
Right. Especially the newer versions.
It's
Newer
super.
versions have really gone down.
We all agree it's important.
It is,
So
yeah.
let's take some
Okay,
time, do
okay.
some
That's
research
why I
and
put it
try
on.
to come up with a solution.
So, again, not to get off track here, but it aligns with communication, right?
Right.
So when we had the Parks Committee meeting, I had met with Lance, I don't remember his last name, Wellinger? Right? So Lance came back to me after our meeting and said, can our township employees do some of the prep work for the pavilion? Can they pour the concrete? Can they dig the holes for the restrooms? Because we don't have running water up there. Now, this might sound unsanitary, but it's not. The systems they have are used at Moraine and other places like that are, pretty sanitary, very sanitary, actually, and better than porta potties, right? So I had to send Ed an email saying, you do this, and that's working up the cost. Right? But to that point, the reason I bring that up is, there's a lot of moving parts. Communication is hard, even in today's world. So,
And if I understand Ed correctly, about a lot of these grants involve in-kind, and that's what you're referring to. This would be an in-kind donation or whatever you want to call it.
correct. So we have to match for grants. Let's say it's $100,000 grant, right? We have to match oftentimes, I'm throwing out hypothetical, 25%, 25,000. But if the road crew, Public Works, can do some of the work, that cuts down to that 25,000 that we would have to spend as a township.
Okay.
Sometimes they drop off all the material
Yes.
and we just do the work. It's free.
I know years ago, when Ben Kramer was still here, they were looking, dealing with, I think it was DEP or whoever around Meadville, to get stuff like, they have at Moraine, and I believe Tom Thompson was involved too, if I remember correctly, and they were trying to get grants, and like you said, it was a max to match, but I don't think they ever got the grants, because obviously they're not there. But yeah, this could be like a cement block going in and everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what this would be, a cement block.
It's poured. They come and set it with a crane.
Any
It gets
chance, have
poured
you
solid.
seen that information? Are you familiar with it by chance?
I'm not, Lance included me in the email and I printed out all the documents and gave them to Greg and we looked over them. I mean, they look very simple. They have a composting, it's like a self-composting. You don't need to have a sewer line or anything and they pump it once a year.
I was referring to the plans Tommy might have already.
Oh, yeah, he sent me the plans.
Well, the plans that were in effect date back, I think, to 2015.
Yeah.
That long ago.
Yeah. 13? I think it started in 13.
The plans were for 15. Okay.
So yeah, we would need to find a location where we're gonna put it before we start digging.
Well, and that's what Lance brought up to me, and again, communication. He goes, where do you put this? Where do you put a pavilion? Where do you put the restrooms? Obviously, the walking trail is what it is, and you pave it. But we would have to make decisions on where we would put the pavilions, the restrooms to be conducive to parking and ADA compliant, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the agenda. I think we're on
Right there, you got it. Bring it to the top.
I know.
the fee schedule.
So my idea on that was I feel that our township is really behind the times, and really lacking on fees related to new build, or large construction items. Compared to adjoining townships, we're really behind the times on fee schedules. I had, of course, on a laptop, but I had some broken down, and just, I took, for example, Arden Woods, you know, how many homes there and what we collected versus if we had a similar fee schedule to say Jackson, Adams, or even, I really like Sewickley Township, so, or Sewickley Borough. Theirs was the absolute easiest. So a lot of times it's by square foot of new construction, and it would be a base fee plus so many, you know, so much, you know, 50 cents, 40 cents per square foot, but the square foot would be including the basement, porches, decks, and, but right now we just have a really basic fee structure, and I think we're really, I mean, with, for example, with the new Wrigley plant coming in, our road crew is not getting any money for this as far as I know, right? I mean, are we, so we, now our road crew has to maintain it, the police department has to support it, EMS, you know, there's just a lot of factors that we could be at least compensating the township for the growth. Now, what the difference between the charge per square foot and what Sewickley Borough does is theirs is very simple. It's a one-line fee. It's a base fee and 1% of the total construction cost. So there's literally, I mean, there's no calculations involved other than what's the final build cost, 1%. And I mean, it really, to me, I like simple, but we, you know, we do whatever you want. Jackson's is, it's more complicated. It's this or that, you know, different. And Owen, by the way, our new zoning officer, consultant, provided me with another list, but it also included Sewickley Borough and Jackson. So I think it's something we should consider. I had looked, I mean, I looked when I first, that was my first night here as a supervisor. You know, that was something we just kind of, I don't know, we never even discussed it. It was just a fee schedule, there were changes. So now, I'm just listening to the readers.
So just for, I have to tell you, I don't completely understand the fee schedules. This is something Bonnie and I have talked about. When you say 1% of, so the fee schedule, who's it being distributed to?
Us, the township, it would come to the township.
From
the building, whoever's doing the building.
So the developer.
Correct. Well, ultimately, the person buying the house, but yes, the developer.
Right. And what are we currently charging? How can we place a value on that?
Unfortunately, again, I apologize, this is my item, I didn't bring my laptop, I had a spreadsheet down, but just rough example on I broke it down by 1,800 square foot townhouse and a 3,000 square foot house, and so I could do the square footage versus, and then I think I had the condo, 1,800 square foot condo going for 350,000, which is probably low, I guess now, and I had the house going for 450,000. But so, for example, on let's just say the $450,000 house, and do not look at this. Right now, we may collect $1,100, $1,200, something very small amount. Whereas 1%, you can figure that number out right now pretty easy. Yeah, go to $4,500. You know, it's a big number.
Yeah, so at Page Place is 120 homes. So at $350,000 a home, that's
3,500.
now that's $42 million.
No.
Yeah? 350 times.
So let's say 350,000
times 120
times 0.01 is 3,500 times 1.4. There's 124 homes. That would be $434,000.
Yeah, I didn't come up with the same. I would have come up with 420,000.
I thought you said 40.
I was doing the math differently.
Okay.
I was just going around.
No, that's okay. Yeah. But so it's
So, but we also charge 1% in real estate transfer taxes. So that's another $420,000. I guess I want to make sure that we're being fair and completely understand the fees, because ultimately it goes to the homeowners. So if we have 1% of real estate transfer, 1% as a fee to build it, we're looking at a place like Page Place at $840,000 in permit fees.
Right.
So I just need to make sure that's reasonable, because we also charge them, what do we charge? We charge,
We call it a door fee. It's $2,000 per resident.
so
So
that's,
that's
Dave-
separate, yeah, you would,
Dave, I hate to call you out, you might know this better than I do, but that's what we charge per household, is $2,000.
now that, I didn't see that in our ordinance anywhere,
it's an impact fee, it's into the
We
developer's
call it a
contract.
door fee.
and where is that documented at?
It happens after we approve the plans, the final plans, then we put together a developer's agreement, which has an impact fee. The impact fee was $2,000 with Martin Woods, it was $2,000 with Arden Woods. I'm not sure about Cedar Bridge, because that was before my time. But with Page Place, that would be another $240,000. And that money can be used either for parks or roads or a combination of
Okay.
parks and roads.
I'm not saying have those in conjunction, what I'm saying is it's not documented anywhere in our ordinances, so this must be a side deal you guys made?
So any developer's agreement has all sorts of information like that. And that's part of it. So I guess I want to see, we're charging 1% for the building fee, 1% for the transfer tax, another $240,000.
No, I wouldn't expect that, no. What I'm saying is I went through the ordinances, I went through all the information, there's no legal reason or legal obligation for the builder to pay, a developer to pay us that at this time. So this must be some deal on the side that I would say, that would probably go away. I wouldn't,
So I guess my only point is, I agree in theory that looking at those are great, but I do have to have some understanding of what it would cost for, say, 100 units. If we could base it on 100 units, that way we can extrapolate that out to different developments
fair enough.
and have some sense of what a developer would pay, and ultimately the homeowners to bring and build. And then make sure that we're on par with similarly placed communities.
Which I literally said, I mean, we do
Yeah.
this, I was comparing it to Jackson, to Adams, and Sewickley. I'm trying to make it easy on the
Yeah.
township, so for the zoning permit guy, if he comes in and it's 1%, it doesn't have to be 1%, it could be 0.75%, I don't care. But I'm just trying to make some legal obligation of somebody developing or building a new house, just one house, you know, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to penalize somebody putting a deck on, but I would like to, but it might benefit them, because I won't go into details. I did have a spreadsheet broken out, but right now, if somebody building a deck and porches appears to be unfairly charged compared to somebody else, you know, because of our current fee structure. I actually had a supervisor from Wilmington Township at Amending, our boot camp, that explained to me that our fees he asked me, why are our fees so high to build a deck? He says, to build a $5,000 deck for a resident in our township costs $500. But for the same deck in Cranberry Township, it costs, I don't know, $250, half the price.
Right.
That's not fair to residents, that's
No,
just not.
I agree. I think it's worth looking at, but
Okay,
I think
okay.
we have to take our time, gather all the information, and
Well, this is the start of that process.
yes, for sure.
How about I do this? I'll look at I'll find where this door fee is.
Okay, if you can find that, that would be good. I do have a spreadsheet built, I'll forward it to you guys. Well, actually, you already have it. I sent it, it's in my original thing to do sheet. It's in
Oh,
there.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's one of the tabs. It's.
But I'll
I didn't see it.
I'll find the details of this door fee, because I know it's
Okay.
$2,000.
No, that's good to know. I couldn't find anything in our ordinances, resolutions, or minutes, or anything.
You'll find it under impact is the way.
Well, that's where it's at, but to break that out.
Okay. Yeah, looking at all of that makes sense.
So can we make that a topic for the next workshop also?
Yes?
Okay. Is that
I'll
all?
have it done.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good segue to the next one. 2026 Road Improvement Analysis Plan. Look, our roads are aging. Our roads are in need of repair. I've talked talked to Ed a lot over the last month, like, I know you rode with Ed for 2 hours. We need a lot of improvement in our infrastructure, particularly our roads.
Right, and I add to that.
Yes.
So, without going on about our 2-hour drive, I didn't realize how bad some of the roads are in the township. I mean, and I know everybody probably thinks their road's bad. Trust me. Unless you live on Schmidt Road, you know, they, that is probably, what do you think, probably the worst in the township?
Right now.
But here's the problem, and Ed, if it's okay with you, next workshop, we're gonna have Ed do a presentation on road treatments, some ideas of what we're trying to do. So here's the dilemma, we have a limited budget, and, you know, if we wanted to fix every road the way it needs fixed, it'd probably cost us $100 million. So, and obviously we don't have that budget, so now we have a limited budget, we're gonna try to decide how to spend it. And it's not as simple as just going and fixing a bad road, because roads get bad for a reason. I don't know the history on Schmidt Road, but we have roads in Scenic Bridge, or is it Arden? Is it Scenic?
Scenic.
Scenic Bridge, I mean, a relatively new plan that are in a state, if we don't address them now, they'll eventually be like Schmidt Road. Maybe not that bad. But, you know, so we have to allocate funds for that as well. So do we try to save roads that are newer, but if we treat them now, they will last longer, you know, maybe 7, 8 years longer than they would? Or do we take that money and tie it into just a section of Schmidt Road?
Are there grants available?
Yes,
for
there are grants.
Yes.
They're working on that as well. Multimodal grants.
So, to Mike's point, the multimodal starts now in March, it ends in July, and we can apply for monies. And we've used those monies in the past for other roads, right? Ed, you wanna add?
Bellis and Woody Wilson were on the project for last year. We spent $330,000 on 2 roads. That's a 1.25 miles we paid for $330,000. Multimodal, they're working on the reimbursement right now, is $230,000. So with our road budget only being $100,000 per year, we were able to stretch it with the grant money to $330,000. But now that ties up a lot of this year's money to preserve that road, because the state gave us money. We have to show proof that we are protecting their investment into our property. Well, that's this year's total budget. So one project is almost 2 years worth of our budget. So it's very, and the price of emulsions has gone up. You know, this is a budget from back a long time ago,
These are
$100,000.
emulsions too, the coatings for the road.
Everything, all the oils that go into, you know, everybody knows what oil went up to, and
Yeah, especially today.
and it's,
What went down?
luckily we already got our bids in for the year, so.
Can I just add this? One of the reasons we brought Ed on, he's very kind, but we needed somebody to plan strategically, right? We had a lot of good people here over the years, and I don't mean this negatively, that were very good at plowing the roads, patching the roads, right? But we also we saw the need to plan, right? 1, 2, 5 years, 10 years out, and that's what we brought Ed, he's a planner. And
It's
that's
basically
why-
a 20-year plan
It is.
to get caught up, and it starts with the first application is new asphalt. There's a product out there that's only $1.18 a square yard, and that's the cheapest form, but it has to be done within 18 months of new asphalt. So if you see a new plan go in and you see them treating it, you're gonna be like, you didn't do anything to my road, but it extends it roughly 8 to 10 years, and it's the cheapest. So
Is there a way that that information could be provided to the community?
The next workshop.
Yep.
We're gonna do that, do an overview on the next workshop.
We'll have
We'll have video and all the stuff, the different treatment types, and we'll start talking about a plan. You can see our dilemma. We have almost no money, and it's very expensive to do. So we have to find another reason I'm trying to get additional income from new properties is so that we can do these kind of things. You know, even though we have the equipment, we have the road crew, it's still, we don't have the money,
the material.
materials.
We have the time, and we just don't have the materials.
How many miles of road was it for $100,000 plus the grant money?
That we
What
paved
do
a
you
mile,
guys
we
send
paved a
out?
mile and a quarter last year for 330,000.
And how many miles of roads do we have in the town?
47 roughly. They haven't updated our type 5 maps, but it's almost, we're getting close to 50 miles.
So it's the same ratio, about $4.7 million still. It's not with this, assuming the same amount of grants.
Without any base repairs, yeah, it's just big.
And there's a lot of sidewalks, right? But if you take the two major roads, I think distance-wise, you have what, Scott Ridge?
Yeah, it's like 4.5 miles.
That's 4 miles, 4.5 miles, right?
Waitstone.
And Whitestown. And both are in that shape.
Rough shape.
There's portions that are okay, but yeah. Was your hand up, sir?
I just realized there's a whole turnover in government and everything here, and for 30 years, Saltworks Road has been falling apart.
The lower half.
Money was allocated to redo Saltworks Road because Scenic Ridge was moving in, and part of the stormwater management plan was their runoff coming onto Saltworks Road. So they allocated the money to improve and put drainage in Saltworks Road to handle the runoff. Well, they got utilities in the process of moving, they staked everything out, and this goes back to when Mike Spiker was roadmaster. They started the first 2 inlets at the end of the road, and then there was a problem. The power company couldn't get the power lines moved in a timely manner, so they pulled off. Well, now 2 or 3 years have gone by, the utilities are relocated, but they've never come back to do the drainage, and we're still getting the runoff from Scenic Ridge.
Waterfalls coming off of the hillside of Scenic Ridge, right where Saltworks bends, right where Spring Lane, coming from that corner, running down into our yard, into our basement. Plus Sunday, all that rain, we had a river, a muddy river coming off the Scenic Ridge, going down Saltworks Road.
Yep, so the money was allocated once, they started the process, then they tarred and chipped it while they were waiting for the utilities, now the tarred and chip is falling apart. And I know you probably got your budget for this year, but you need to look at it in the future. The money one time was allocated and they started, and I don't know where that money went, but it never got finished.
Mike left for a period of time, and before he left, he was good enough to clear out some, I don't know what they're called, you do, but some areas that were.
He dug a ditch
He
through
dug
the
a
yard
ditch.
to take some of the water that was
Some
coming
water,
through our
which
house.
helped for a period of time, but that's all
Which
filled in now.
It needs to be cleaned out.
Well, Mike, let me ask you a question. And thanks for your comment, I appreciate it. Do you have, so as you see, we're coming up, we're gonna be going through the 2025 budget. Do you have, and we have, thanks to Bonnie, we have access to our budgets all the way back to 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So we can do budgets versus actions. So we're all trying to get a handle
You're
on.
all new.
No, not all new, but the idea is.
So that's not
Relative.
No, but what I'm saying is, if do you happen to know what year this was? Or
Well,
Ed, do you
the
know?
year, find out the year that Mike.
It was probably, I'm sorry, 2023. It was
That was
probably.
the
Oh,
year
is that
Mike
recent?
left.
Okay.
That's
Think
what
you
Mike-
left-
Because that's
what Mike-
where it ended, that's where it ended.
Was it
One of
23
the
or
last
22?
things he did
It was
before-
one of the very last things he did, and we were so grateful for him, because there for a long period of time, their water wasn't coming into our yard anymore.
Bonnie, can I ask you possibly, or Mr. Chairman, is it okay if I request from Bonnie to look into the budget of 22 and 23, confirm what he's saying? I mean, see if you can locate, maybe work with Ed if he has any questions, to see if you can locate any funds already that were allocated, and then we can try to track down what happened to them.
Pretty sure it was 20.
Okay,
I thought he said he was going for 2 years and he came back in the fall of 2024 with
I
me.
go back and look, but
Yeah.
I look at 22
Mike
and
would
23.
be-
Yeah, maybe November of 20.
okay, well, Ed, you said Mike Spiker would be better, might know better, maybe ask Spiker.
I called the power company myself about the poles after they get the wires came off. I got to call the phone company, they removed the wire, and then I called the power company, they removed the poles. So now the utilities are gone.
Yeah.
Okay, Is that okay? Does that sound
One other
reasonable?
thing I wanna say is the road crew does a great job keeping our end of the road. I don't know about the other end, but our end of the road, hats off. I really appreciate it.
I would just like to get the
Okay.
drainage back in.
Understood.
Will that satisfy your question? I mean, that's kind of all we can do at this point, at least try to look into the history.
Please
See
just
what's
get
out
back
there.
in
Yep,
your
absolutely.
schedule and look at it, because it's a river. It's a river when we have downpours. It's a muddy river, and it's coming off the scenic ridge.
So as everybody can see, there's a lot of things that we have limited amount of money to do. So that's why we added this to our agenda. It's gonna be, we're gonna discuss it more in detail. More is gonna be what we can do to repair the roads, the different types of repairs. But, hopefully we'll have an answer for you on, if it was in fact budgeted, now we have something to go on. So I'm gonna take your word for it that it was. We just need to try to
know it was because the scenic ridge,
Right.
stormwater.
And not that we're trying to put you off, but we're just trying to go back 1 year right now, 2025. We're trying to figure out how we got to where we're at now.
And if you wanna see those videos, we would be more than happy to share them.
Okay,
We've probably seen them live in person.
So next portion.
All right, that takes us on, this is probably the majority of what we want to talk about tonight, is the 2025 budget versus what we actually spent.
And Dana, can you hear me okay? Am I talking loud enough or not? I'm talking.
I think all your microphones need to get closer, to be honest.
Okay.
That's much better.
I know, okay, sorry.
Bonnie, we're looking at you now. So poor Bonnie's only been here a week, and we're throwing
That's
this on
okay.
her.
That's okay. So I went back and looked at the 2025 budget versus actuals. I want to say up front that so far, nothing is jumping out at me as being wrong. There are certainly things that I'm finding where money was allocated to one budget item when it should have been allocated to a different one. But right now, I'm not seeing anything that's raising any huge red flags. At the same time, I haven't dug down into every single receipt, every single invoice. I've been looking at the budget in a broad, in a broad way. So I'm happy to put up what I have. It will be relatively small on this screen, but each of the supervisors has a version of it printed out in front of them.
And for those of you who don't know Bonnie, obviously she's only been here a week. She didn't quit after 1 week. Bonnie was with Marsboro for 12 years, doing the financials.
9.5, yeah.
So this is her area of expertise. And you've all met Barb Lansky. Barb is a very detailed person too. The reason we hired her. The two of them together can drill down and help the board of supervisors, help the township with, hey, this is, I guess overall the picture is we're not off budget, but the devil's in the detail and things aren't being allocated properly, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's been a lot of discussion on grants and going after that kind of funding. You want to know where your money is in order to get those grants. It's kind of vital. You don't want to have question marks. And again, it's more that, well, I will also say, I think that part of the disconnect between the office, the supervisors, and the public has been that for years, there's been a third party handling all of this. And so if we can bring that back in-house, if we can keep it here, one, we save that money, but also we know exactly where, and honestly, if a mistake is made, it's us that made it, not some other third party that, we only know their name and an email line. So I will say this is taken directly out of the financial software, so it's a little rough. However, you know, if you want to run down through it every line by line, I don't know that that's necessary, but there are a lot of things you're going to see here.
I would hit the big.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that vary year to year. And for some reason, I don't know why
Does anybody want me to move that? Would it be, I can move it forward, sideways?
I was gonna say, if you can bring it forward a little bit, but also, I don't know why, but
It's not letting you see your,
I can't scroll.
I wonder if you ever decided that thing, does it scroll?
What I wanna do, I'm gonna just do it. It's just not letting me do it, no matter how.
You make it a smaller size than that.
Better, Bonnie? Can you sit?
I can.
Everybody here sit?
Yeah, but still, it's killing me.
Is that good?
Even if you dropped it to like 90%, would it bring that bar up?
Hey, Bonnie, so Rich just said, can you hit every line item? We don't have to cover it one.
Just if we have a question, yes, we can ask. If not, we'll move on.
Yes.
So part of the intent of this, and just really simple language, is if you lived in a house 50 years ago with Grandpa and he had the checkbook, he wrote out the checks and he had his own reasonable way of allocating his budget. When he died, Grandma was clueless. What in God's name are all of these things? And what we want to make sure is that Bonnie and me and Greg and Mike are all on the same page with each item. We know where the income's coming from, what account it's going to, what we can use it for, and just have an opportunity to ask questions so that we build the foundation. The budget's the foundation of the township. Build a foundation that we're all starting Bonnie off on the right foot and we all understand where we are. That's the intent in my eyes, which might include the rather painful process of quickly going through all of the line items, so that we all understand it. If you guys don't understand, ask, because it's likely we don't understand either. Because I will tell you, I've done this for 2 years. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand. I'll be the first one to tell you that. So we'll all get smarter together.
So Ed, I think that first one was Pleasant Hill. Is that correct? The question, that was Pleasant Hill, wasn't it? Remember back money? I remember it being discussed.
On the top of the page right here, the turnback payment, is that just
So I believe turnback should be, that's what I was asking.
Pleasant Hill? It should be Scott Ridge.
Can I tell you what it is?
Yeah.
So the bottom portion of Pleasant Hill, where it runs into Perry Township, Lawrence County, there was some discrepancy with the county and township line a long time ago. So ultimately, we assumed that road back from the state, and the state simply pays us some money each year to take care of it. And that's where that turnback fee comes from. Is that correct?
But is there more than one road that we have that for? Is that just,
There's more than one, yes.
so that may not all be
It's not just one road.
correct?
And I'm not sure what other roads they are. We might want to, okay. So that's a rough.
Well, that's something, I have a meeting with Corey tomorrow.
Okay,
We can find out.
good. But that's what it is.
45. So here's the 45. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I was just moving on to the
Yeah.
91,000. I got divided by 2,000. It comes out to 45.5.
Something like that. And that's the fee that the developers pay, $2,000. And their developers agreement is that 50% of that goes into the roads and 50% goes to the
What claim
parks.
was it for?
Art, I believe.
It was already,
2,000 per unit? Per unit.
yes.
Yeah. And we chose to divide the money 50-50, so.
Where does half go to?
Half goes to the roads, half goes to the parks.
Okay, so if we just go down, there's a handful of items, our interest earnings is significantly higher than what was budgeted. My guess at this particular point in time is simply that investments simply earned more, or we aimed low so as not to rely on it just in case something happened.
So
Greg- I'm sorry. Greg can probably comment on that. We have a bunch of money saved, and Greg worked really hard to put that money in different accounts. One of those accounts is called Pliget, which is a very low risk account, but it ties to interest rates. When interest rates change, the amount of revenue we generate from specific accounts changes. We're not really tied to the stock market, but we are tied to the Fed's discount rate.
Yeah, so look, versus putting it in West Bank or next to your savings account or checking account, with Pliget, we get, just call it between 4 and 5% interest every year. So we make money versus just sitting out there.
So at that low percentage rate, how do we get such an excess in interest income? I guess back to Bonnie's question, because 1%, I mean, 4% is nothing. I know we're limited, if I understand the laws correctly, we're not allowed
No,
to
4%
invest in the stock market.
is great for
Oh, no,
interest.
it is.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it was, in the prior year, it was budgeted $150,000. If
So-
anything, it was higher.
Pliget is the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust. It is specifically where municipal governments, authorities can invest money without the risk of, like if you go and you just invest in stocks, you're not allowed to do that. You are allowed to invest in Pliget, and then they invest your money.
But they still have to invest in treasury bills or
Yeah.
certain items.
Correct.
There's nothing paying that kind of difference. I'm just curious as where the initial interest.
In the last few years, it used to be you got maybe 0.5%. In the last few years, it's been over 5.
Okay.
So we brought a little more color. About a year and a half ago, we brought in a Pliget representative who said, here's where your monies are at, here's where you should put them at. And we put those monies there to make 4 or 5% interest.
Yes, sir.
The question is on section F there, was this collected when it previously wasn't? What does that mean?
That's a question for me. I just don't know where that came from.
That's
There was
what we need.
nothing, because there was nothing budgeted. The budgeted amount was 0.
Those are comments that Bonnie put in when she was going through.
Yeah,
This
that's
is just,
fine.
just for her to understand it.
Those
Yeah.
are my notes. And if there's something where I got the answer, I put the answer in. You'll see a lot where it says varies year to year or adjust moving forward. Those are things where it's obvious that they will, you don't know what your fines are going to be year to year from the magistrate or your state police fines. That depends on how many people get pulled over in Lancaster Township by the state police. Those vary, but there are some things that just moving forward, the peddler's license, for example, the budgeted amount was low, the actual amount was a little higher. That's something so minor. I wouldn't really look too hard at that. It's when we're getting into, again, you don't know how many peddlers are going to ask for a license.
A lot of them are just truly projections. Just like your stock portfolio at home, on January 1st, it had a value. Today it has a different value. And you could guess at what you thought it would be, but you'd probably be wrong. And it's an estimate here.
Let's see. So there's 2 green lines there, where my question was, were some of these monies allocated to the other budget item? And I think that one I don't have the answer to, but my guess is that they probably are. There's probably something from the subdivision land development that was allocated to building permits or vice versa, since the subdivision line is so much higher than what was projected and the building permits is so much lower.
I can answer that for you too. It's the subdivision and land development fees. If we go back to 2023, and we'll put them together, subdivision and land development, building permits and inspection permit fees. And you have building permits there, but you don't have inspection permit fees.
Well, it's right below it,
It's
actually.
right below.
Yeah.
In 2023, that was $197,000. This year, it's projected to be, like $75,000, $77,000.
The inspections?
All those
Total,
three
it's all
together.
totaled up as one.
What are all three of them together?
110 or 115?
75,000 for 2025. They were 75,000. So I can use numbers from 2025. She gave us comparisons for 3 years. So they were 197,000 in 2023. In 2025, those three put together are $75,000. And this year they're less. The differences are simply the amount of growth in the township.
We have not seen new homes being.
So our revenue drops significantly. It's one of those two. We will make $150,000 less this year on those three items based on there's no permits to build homes.
Hey, Bonnie, do me a favor and pin the, heading bar, heading freeze frame.
Did that make sense? Did that make sense, Bob?
Yeah, sure, line size.
But those are the fees Mike was talking about earlier too. The building fees and development fees.
Sorry, but carry through there.
I mean, if anyone sees anything they're really interested in looking at specifically.
Well, earned income. Let's touch on that.
So we're coming here. So earned income is right here. So 670,000 was budgeted for earned income, and we collected over 900, which is great. But the question becomes, for budgetary purposes, can we get better estimates? And Berkheimer will estimate those items for us.
And we talked
moving
about
forward.
that today.
Yeah.
We have a way through
Berkheimer, yep.
to come up with a better estimate in 2026 on what we think that would be.
Yeah, I can contact them and they will give us, each year you can ask them for those estimates because they keep track, because they are a tax collector, they keep track of who is living where, and they can project year to year if those individuals still live where they live, what they're projected to earn or to pay in earned income.
This one's a good news, but in the future, we can get better at estimating what that will actually be.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and the earned income is, do you guys know what
Yeah.
the earned?
Does everybody know what earned income tax is?
Can you explain?
Yep.
It's a 0.5% of all Lancaster Township residents' salaries. And it's also a 0.5% of anybody who works in Lancaster Township. So if you're unfortunate enough to live and work in Lancaster Township, it costs you
1%. 1%.
1%?
Yeah.
1%.
You would know that, you work here.
Yeah.
So if, just projecting out and why it's so difficult to quantify is if you bring, say next year we have Page and Place developed, say they sell all the homes and there's 120 units And each family in those units, say their earned income is $125,000 a year. Times 120 is $15 million. So 1%, 15 million, Dave will be better at this than me. 1% of $15 million is $150,000 divided by 100. Right?
Yep.
Correct.
So $150,000 in revenue, but it depends on how many new families we bring into the township in any given year. And it vastly, it's like 60% of our township's income. So we have a really hard time get our arms around it. So
Taxes are not our big money maker. This is.
Yeah. So, but we have a hard time figuring out.
But like we said, Bonnie's got an idea with Berkheimer. We can get a better handle on what that'll be next year.
It's my math.
Estimate.
Right. I think we should be able to get it fairly close, because it's not gonna be 1%.
But
It's gonna be,
it'll be closer
half
than our.
1%. To work in with it.
Correct.
So I'm sure we could go back and say, okay, what percentage of people who live in Lancaster, work in Lancaster, apply that to the 124 hours.
Right.
We should be able to get fairly close.
Correct.
Get a projection as to how that benefits.
But they can even project when somebody's going to be retiring. They're able to predict a lot of that stuff.
Berkheimer can give us a lot more insight than we have.
Yeah.
That's the message.
That's great.
So the big loser there, I guess, was the real estate transfer tax. But you were under projected.
Well, the real estate so real estate transfer tax was lower than what had been projected. But unless properties are selling, you don't get that. You know, and you receive, that's the 1% of the sale cost, or the sale amount of a property. So you, on the one hand, if you're buying, you don't want to pay that much. But if you are going to sell, you want more, right? So it benefits the township if you get a better price for your property if you sell. Yes. I equate higher and better as the same. So, but you can see here, though, the total income. Is 400,000 more than what was budgeted, which is great. But when you're making the budget, if you don't know you're getting that extra 400,000, you can't allocate it anywhere if you don't know it's coming.
And that's what we want to improve.
So it's kind of wasted.
It's kind of what?
It's kind of wasted in a sense if you.
Not really, because it's there.
Well,
Yes
it's
or no?
there.
They can use it the following year.
We could have fixed the road.
That's right.
They could fix your drainage.
Right, you could have made the plans.
Well, so-
Allocate it in the middle of the year?
Well, I think the big thing is right now, we're trying to figure out how good we did last year. The idea of that, like you're saying, you know, you're comparing what you budgeted, what your actuals were, you can see where you made a mistake, improve in the 2026 budget. I think we'll probably go back to the 24 budget at some point to see how bad we did, and then we'll find out. But yes, no, and you'll see that our actual expenses, and because it's nice to look good at income, but I suspect our actual expenses are higher than they were budgeted.
Correct.
So that's where it is not left allocated. So,
And the one of the reasons the earned income tax is tough, but the real estate transfer tax is really hard. And I'll simply use an example that's coming down the road. Is we know they're going to build townhouses at Amending, right? Or at least we think they are, if we approve everything. If they approve it this year and sell 50 of those 100 townhomes, we will generate $210,000 in real estate transfer fees. If they don't approve it this year, or something happens, we don't get that money. If they approve it this year and all of those homes sell this year, we generate $420,000 in real estate transfer fees. really hard to project out. If we don't sell any this year, and all of them next year, all the money that's 90% of the money that's budgeted for real estate transfer fees, we will not collect this year. So it's a moving target. It's really hard. Budgets are in the municipal realm. I like to say, you have dart games where you have to be very precise. Municipal budgets are hand grenade games. You throw a bomb and you hope you get close, especially on the revenue side. It's really tough to capture it all. So that's my.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that, but that's true. There are some things you just can't control. If you have a huge manufacturer move into the township, that would generate a significant amount of income to the township. But if you had a manufacturer and it moved out, that would very adversely affect the township.
When you use a housing plan, you have a pretty much set number, but that's what the page place will bring you. But that doesn't count all the other properties in the township. You never know when somebody's going to sell, what they're going to sell, and it's going to vary every year.
It doesn't, and it also doesn't. It just doesn't. We can't tell how quickly it's going to go in or how quickly they'll sell. So it's hard.
Well, and I don't think this is something that a lot of people know, but when the building permit is approved and it goes to the county, it goes to the assessment office, and the builder has up to 2 years potentially tax-free before there's ever a tax payment on that parcel of land. Once they receive an occupancy permit, that's typically when you would start collecting taxes. But if they sit there and if something goes wrong with the developer and the land just sits there, you never gain that income.
Liquid fuels is one that I don't understand.
Liquid fuels is calculated by the state, and typically you get that notice the year before. You typically get it, I want to say maybe in October.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah. So you are given a dollar amount, and you can see here it was pretty close. Sometimes you get a little bit more, sometimes you get a little bit less, but you always get right about
what can we
the same.
use it for?
Roads.
Yeah. So liquid fuels has a very limited number of topics, and I've always thought it's safest to use it for roads.
That's the big one. That's the big hit.
I'm sure that Ed
Roads.
knows every single item you can use it.
Yeah, it's
I
easiest.
sat down with Corey 2-3 weeks ago, and we went through the 2024, 2025 actual spent versus what liquid fuels was, and it was spot on, almost spot on.
So that's really the number we're going to use for our
That's
discussion.
But there's rules with liquid fuel. Like,
Yeah.
like there's a road in, like there's rules what you can spend it on, but there's also rules that you can collect it on. There's a road in Scenic Ridge that's too short for us to collect money on.
And
it has to be a certain length, so that needs to be something that needs to be discussed with the planning commission. Make sure that they're aware of this, because it's only 230 feet. We don't get a dime to take care of that road.
And Ed, you know this better than I do, but if there's certain surfaces you can put down, but if there's a certain binder in it, that doesn't qualify. It's complex, right?
Oh yeah,
and I don't know what it is.
Yep. It's easiest to just tell them it has to be $10 per spec whenever you get paid.
Exactly.
But yeah.
But we made that mistake in the past. In 2023 and 2022, we put down some surface that had some type of binder in it that we could not then use liquid fuels for.
Yeah, it was an oil. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember hearing the story.
So you said the number's 230 feet though? It has to be greater in length?
250, I think, is the minimal.
I'm sure Mr. Carlson had that down already.
I'm taking notes right now.
I can get you that definite number, but it is important that it's a short little cul-de-sac, and you wouldn't think of it until it was measured out, and we can't get money for it. So,
Yes, sir.
I have a question, and this may be something more to ask per time, because I get an occupation tax every year, which is very, very minute.
Yeah,
but then I also got to pay a earned income tax. Now, isn't that like redundant? I mean, if I'm paying an earned income tax, why do I got to pay a tax to have a job if I'm already paying the tax based on the income I make
Wish I could explain taxes to you, but I can tell you, when I pump gas, I feel
I mean-
kind of bad that I gotta pay taxes, but the guy with the electric car does not, you know?
I will be honest, that is one that I had a question on because it's not showing any income from that. Now Berkheimer, I can go back to Berkheimer and say, give me the totals, and they can divide it out for me. So it could be that maybe some of that total is actually somewhere in the LST or the earned income line items here, and it just wasn't appropriately divided out. As for why it exists, I'm sorry, but your guess is as good as mine. That, yeah, that would be something that would maybe, I would encourage you to talk to your elected officials.
And they,
Not us.
yeah, no, well, you can talk to us, but I would say, Aaron Bernstein, Mike Kelly, reach out to them, they'll listen. Good.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure that occupation tax is a local tax
Oh,
that
it
this
is?
township would have.
So we implemented that then?
I
That's all
would
right.
guess. I've never heard, well, I'll put it this way. In my past experience, that is not in every municipality.
Oh, well, then you should. Interesting.
We don't know it.
What'd you say? We don't know it?
I don't know it.
Know it, okay. Can we put that on the list of items to investigate for the next workshop? It's a good question. Especially since we don't have any coming in. I believe Paul's probably right.
Yeah, my guess is that it's lumped in with one of these two somehow. So. All right, who wants to look at expenses?
Yeah, go on.
All right, so expenses.
Did we not do any crack sealing last year, Ed?
We did not crack seal last year.
Huh?
We spent that money on, we took the crack seal money and spent it for the stabilized gravel.
Which we did on
Whitestown.
And Whitestown.
Whitestown and East Lancaster.
East Lancaster.
So this, we've got recreation parks here, and obviously Four Springs Park is higher than what was budgeted, but when I looked for that information, it looks like trees were a little bit more than what was budgeted, but it looks like fencing was installed, and that was the big, big item there.
So is that fencing a last minute or post-budget item?
It was.
That include the fence down by the police station too?
No, that was paid for.
That was paid for
By
by
Tarka.
the resident.
So I went through, this was obviously one that surprised me because this is saying that nothing was spent on solicitor fees.
That's not true.
Yes. So, but down here under professional services, I was able to go back and look at what was included there, and it does look like any solicitor fees were actually included there. And that's just a matter of reallocating it to the correct line item in the budget. You can see MDIA is your third-party building inspector. So they're the ones that are actually setting those per square foot rates that were being talked about earlier. Supporting strategies is that third party that I mentioned earlier that we've been paying to handle all the, paying bills. And so you can see how much that would save by bringing all of that in-house.
Can I add this? So we brought in a third party bill payer in 2021. And we did that because we had a turnover in township managers. We brought in an interim, it was called strategic solutions, and they recommended we go to a third party bill payer. And we are looking to reverse that and put that in Bonnie's hands and Barb's hands to save that money. And to get a better understanding of what the devil's in the detail, where the money's really going. I'm not saying these people are doing a bad job, we're just paying money and we don't have the visibility that we should.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good chance that for the 2026 budget, savings.
Correct.
That is along with our payroll.
Right, so as soon as we can, and the payroll does come up here in a little bit, which is about 5,000 a year, I wanna say, but, I mean, $25,000, that's half of someone's salary.
Yeah.
That's a significant savings.
Is it safe to assume those legal fees there, 86,000 would be in the call, solicitor fees, so that we were 200%?
That was actually, so that was 3 different,
Solicitors, yes.
law
That's right.
firms.
Okay.
So what I think was 2 different solicitors, and then there was one that was a special, like a labor relations.
Yeah, so we had a police negotiation contract, and we have our solicitor, and for labor agreements, when road crew is a union, certainly the police, we have a separate lawyer for labor agreements. And this year was a labor contract, so.
We can budget for that in the future. when the
Correct.
contracts are done.
I think the police contract's 5 years, so you're looking 5 years out.
I guess the point being, basically, we were in 25, double what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
There are a handful of other ones like this. Oops. Oh, hold on. Let me scroll down. Where was I? Here we go. So these filing fees for ordinances, my assumption here, and even though this is a small number budgeted, is that maybe there just weren't filing fees that had to be made. So there was nothing. This is codification of your ordinances, so if no new ordinances were passed and needed codified, that's why both of those would be 0. You simply didn't have to. Now the other thing is the E-Code 360 library online. Typically there is a maintenance fee to that every year, so my question would be, where's that in all of this? I have not located that yet. I'm sure we paid it because the library still
I
exists
would say
online.
it's under our solicitor fees.
Yeah, that makes sense. On that note, take a tangent for a minute. Our E-code is way behind.
Way behind.
So,
Just to be honest.
I just something I think we need to address. More to do on it, but, our E-code is, our resolutions are out there. Anyhow, it's just something we got to do.
Yeah, and the recodification is a significant expense. So that $5,000 could have just been I don't know that that's the full annual update. I want to say, in my experience, it's several $1,000s. It's possible that was your annual update, but a recodification is significantly more.
Okay.
So.
Just so you know, E-code is where all our ordinances are theoretically maintained, all our resolutions, any new,
Theoretically.
right. A lot of townships keep them updated, I just sadly, it is, and others, and there's others that don't as well, but it's one location for every township in Pennsylvania has theirs, theoretically, has their ordinances, resolutions, all in one place as opposed to, paper documents that you download from the website.
And we are working to update all of that.
So one of the items that Greg and I talked about earlier today was, we have a Cintas account, and that, I'm not saying we need to pick on the good people of Cintas, but are there other less expensive options? Are there just other options? I don't know yet if we need to pick apart things to that degree. But I'm pointing that out only because this particular line item is double what it was budgeted for.
And look, what the Cintas do, they put down the carpets at the office over here every week. I believe police, they might service uniforms
Maybe
for the
these,
police,
yeah.
right, and that's in here. But that's something that Bonnie and I talked about today that we're looking into.
Yeah, that's good, because that's double one. It's,
$6,000.
Well,
it
that's
uniforms?
part, that's
I mean,
only part of it. You know, obviously, you know, that also includes, you know, getting all the fire extinguishers inspected and the maintenance supplies and, you know, there's a lot of things that have all been lumped together right there that could maybe be
I'm just,
divided out a little bit better.
I'm just looking at it for us. I mean, our Centos are probably doing our fire extinguishers. They're pretty much the same every year. I mean, they'll go 3%,
Yeah, they're gonna be, yeah.
4%.
It should
So,
be, it should be.
how did we go 2 or 3%?
I would say just an
It's
error.
a fair
We
question.
must have added something.
I would say, my guess is just an error in budget. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, you're seeing a lot of, you know, just adjust this moving forward, things that vary year to year. Obviously, we all wish we knew what our electric bill was gonna be. I mean, we all know that this was a significant purchase. I would be very curious to know what capital purchase might have been $5,000. I don't know how long that discussion lasted, but that's, you know, that's just a difference, and it's a.
Can you explain that capital purchase for the actual?
That was the building, 600 Prairie Highway.
Um,
Yeah, can you touch on the?
yeah, so these two lines, they're highlighted blue. And, I'm sorry, what?
I'm just trying to catch up.
Rich is old school, he's well by paper.
Sorry. So these two lines that are highlighted blue, you know, they caught my eye in particular because the first one looks like no fire protection tax was paid to the fire district. I know for a fact that it was because I took the check to the bank and deposited it. Well, that's not true. I created the deposit. One of the volunteers walked it to the bank. So I know that money went to the bank, and I thought, well, it has to be somewhere. Well, it turns out that it was just simply allocated down here under emergency management. So that's an easy fix, just to move that number back. And again, because it was a tax, only what was collected was sent, not what the projected amount was.
It's a pass-through revenue.
Yes.
With whatever we collect from our residents, we send all of it on to the fire district, correct? So
that's how it's supposed to be.
It shows up in our budget as revenue and an expense, but the reality is it's just not there.
It's left-hand right.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean when you say money that you get from the residents for fire district?
Sure. Part of our tax on residents, our earned income tax, I think is 11 mils. Is it 11 mils?
I think it is.
And 7.5 of that goes to our general fund. And then there's another small millage amount that goes to the fire district. So out of that money we collect it from you guys, but we don't ever actually get to utilize it. It's immediately sent on to the fire district.
You said earned income.
Yeah, he meant real estate tax.
Real estate.
He did sounds right.
Because I didn't think earned income was village.
Yeah, no,
Real
it's
estate.
real estate. I'm sorry. Thanks.
So, Barney, I mean, I guess my big question is, there seems to be quite a few items here that are inappropriately or incorrectly categorized. Was that something that happened in-house, or was that something that happened with the service that we paid?
That I don't know yet.
Okay.
Because every one of these, I have to go back and look at the document portal and look at every single.
You know the answer to that?
Shared responsibility.
Okay, because I was gonna say, some of these are some pretty obvious mistakes.
I would say it's shared.
We're not gonna do that with Bonnie in charge, you don't forward that.
She's already.
Barb is also on top of this, so that's awesome. Sorry, can you go back to the wages? I was curious on that, sorry. Just that's all I'm aware. I wondered how we missed the budget on wages. We didn't hire anybody new, did we?
You mean here?
Yes.
So
Yes.
and again,
We did hire you last year.
Who did we?
So we hired Barb.
Is she included?
She would be in that, for roughly 4 months. And then we did hire I would say some of the others probably overtime. I would say Barb is the bigger. We did hire Kristen in communications.
Okay, so it's like $34,000. I'm not trying to pick on wages. $35,000.
yeah. I think that original 34, and I'd have to look at what Shirley, would have made in a year if it had just been her. So the question is that the best projection just for one person versus?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really a combination of hiring Barb, hiring Kristen, and then overtime that we would have paid Shirley.
So I guess just hypothetically, the plan was to pay Shirley, and she must make $34,000. Would that be a fair guess as to what happened? And then the other $34,000 was others.
Possibly, yeah.
She was our only employee, right? I mean, I don't know what Shirley made.
Yeah, at this point, that's the only. Well, there's a chance your code enforcement officer might have, or I'm sorry, zoning officer.
Zoning officer.
Might have been.
That was an hour. No worries.
We'll have to, yeah.
It's not-
And that's something, again, that's something that we don't have easy access to that information, so.
Yeah, because we use paychecks.
Yeah, which we're gonna be fixing as well. Sorry, thanks.
No. Tell me if you want me to stop now.
Yeah, if anybody in the audience has a question, too, just
Chime in.
yeah, please. That's what we're doing.
So this is one, and this is something where this was, dental and insurance for employees, and that's significantly higher. It's listed under public safety, but I also can't find a corresponding budget item under administration or public works or any other department. So my guess is it's simply all the employees were
It's
allocated
all in
there.
there, probably.
Yeah. So ideally what you would do is you'd break it apart into each department so you know exactly how much the police are costing, exactly how much administration is costing, exactly how much public safety is costing, or public works, sorry.
You're exactly right. That's what I had asked that question
Okay, yeah.
previously, and that's the explanation.
Yeah. And I think that's happened for a handful of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that full-time officer, that was a police officer, or was that just one, or is that multiple?
That's multiple.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That's the whole department.
yeah.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say,
We
who's
had
applying for a
a
job?
heart transplant, a liver transplant, a kidney transplant, right?
So for this, I did discover, and I'm gonna have to scroll forward a bit, but here, it looked like, uniforms and vests was significantly higher, but the truth is that public works uniforms are lumped in with this a bit. So that line item, you'll see it come up. I tried to color code them the same. So again, it's not, if you combine the two budgeted amounts, they're relatively close to the actuals. It's just they were plopped into the wrong basket.
So Bonnie, I gotta ask, since the 2026 budget is already complete, will we be revisiting that so that we can properly break these out?
I would like to, yeah, and that's what Barb has worked. She's actually gone back to 2022 with the actuals so that they can be looked at. And the problem is we're likely gonna have to go back and do this same evaluation for each year.
Right, and I don't disagree. I'm just, looking forward to when we go to 2027's budget, would we be able to pull the 26
Yeah.
budget versus actual?
We want
not
actual, yeah.
deal with this?
We
Oh,
could be, I think we could be a lot more accurate.
Yeah.
That's what, I guess that's what I'm hoping. in this day and
Yes.
age.
Yes.
Hey, Bonnie, is it possible, this information is amazing.
Mm.
So they put it together going back 2023, 4, 5,
Yeah, Barb actually sent it to me.
budget
Yeah.
versus actual. Can you guys put together the same thing and just show us not the actuals for each year, so we can see how it's changed
Just
year over year?
yeah, just actuals, yes, yeah.
That would be
Yes.
fantastic to see. Thank you.
Um, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that there's no actual for police training. I find it very difficult to believe that
That's
the
not true,
police
because
didn't.
we
Yeah.
sent Mike and others to training.
And it's possible that that's been lumped together under, there's an education line item. So I have a feeling that's where it's at. It's just not showing up here. Purchase of the police vehicles, several. I would assume that moving
Yeah,
forward,
and that's what I
that
said
will drop
earlier, we want to
significantly.
stagger these, we
Yeah.
purchased 3 or 4 last year, in 2025. We want to stagger those.
We talking about the cars, police cars?
What was 224,000?
Just from my own knowledge, what was the thought process behind the 4 simultaneously?
So
We were, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's easy. We weren't here then. And they were budgeted, approved, that when we got here, they were spending so much on repairing, they were all up at 90 or 100,000 miles.
Okay.
And we were given a problem that the only way out of it was just to
We were
replace it.
spending $15,000 a year or more on each vehicle.
Okay.
To repair it.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's why I wanted to say we want to stagger.
Yeah, I guess that's what I would go for, I'd be vehemently
One
opposed
every
to
2 years, not 4 in 1 year.
So what is the plan, sorry to interrupt here, going forward? I mean, we have 4 cars, we're gonna put 2 of them in the storage building and wait?
Well, we did keep one old one and we're running that one into the ground.
I understand.
But I think that's part of the asset analysis that
Okay.
we look at and say, look, how do we,
And I'm just asking in discussion because that's why we're here meeting. How do you 2 feel about, I mean, we have, how many police cars and how many officers on that? We never have more than 2 officers on.
never more than 2.
So we have
Usually
5 cars.
But each patrolman has their own car, so to speak. So they're responsible for that.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from something, but from a practical point of view, to get us to the point where we can start staggering these. Should we consider parking 2 of them and leaving 3 available? And so if one's in for repairs, we have a spare?
We can touch base with, let me touch base with Mike Cornell and see what his thoughts are.
Okay.
I think that's, we have.
It's okay. We
Just
do
keep the
need
mileage
some-
down. I mean, we've got the mileage down, hopefully, we have been starting off with some stabilizing and maybe start rolling them out. That way we're not, because we try to trade in 4 new cars simultaneously.
Well,
I agree.
the good news is the newer and the lower mileage a police vehicle is, the more you're gonna get for it.
Exactly.
Not just like with any vehicle, however, a police vehicle in particular. Heaven forbid we get into a situation again where they're not making the vehicles, which happened several years ago. They just weren't producing them. And so even brand new, they were like going at a prime rate. And used vehicles were really selling well.
And what we did do to save money was, I think we bought these in 2020. We bought an older model, a year older, that was still new, to try to save some money. But a lot of the expense comes in the aftermarket stuff.
Yeah, upfit, they're called, yeah, it does get very expensive, so.
It almost, I don't want to say it doubles the cost, but it goes to.
Unfortunately, going through, we spend a lot of time with the public works department.
Same thing.
Yeah, well, no, what I'm finding is at least they saved the interiors, the upfitted interiors, so we could literally turn these cars back to stock if we wanted to do that. But I think at the very least, we consider, at least talk to Cornell, see if he's interested in parking two of them, keeping the mileage down, and then, you know, taking them off insurance. I mean, we have 5 cars and 2 full-time officers on at a time. I don't think they need to, nothing against that, another person's car. I mean,
I
let's
agree.
share cars.
Yeah, it's worth talking about.
It was Mike's approach to each vehicle that they maintain and have clearance.
I understand.
But yeah, maybe one way or the other, we need to get to the point that we're not replacing.
Exactly. Okay.
More stuff. So.
So this was another, a capital purchase where I believe what happened was the truck was ordered and then it just didn't come in, and then finally it did, but it wasn't in the budget.
2024 budget. But by the time we got it and paid for it, it was Q1 of 2025. It created that variance, is what I recall.
Now, ideally, you would know that during your budget process, and you would simply slide that forward, and
Was that not on here?
it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, okay. I thought maybe it might end up in another category.
This was, the snow and ice was another one. I know this. We spent very little in 23 and 24 and depleted our inventory, if you will, and we spent a lot in 2025.
So the emails I've been receiving from CoStar, I could answer this better, but I mean, I think your orders have to be in by March 15th.
Yeah, for the following year, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, so just
Right.
do that.
Yeah, you have to order significantly much farther ahead than you could ever predict what kind of winter you're going to have. So that's why when you hear about salt shortages I think it's been the last 2 years, it's because we had such mild winters that public works departments just weren't ordering as much.
Fortunately, I think our public department did a good job. Matter of fact, I believe we loaned salt.
We loaned salt to Harmony 20 tons.
Okay.
We got it back.
Just like to make sure we maintain that.
But we don't run out.
Because I did hear talking to Mark McCollum is that they ran out.
And Jackson Township approached us, oh geez, I think in the big storm on January 25th, they wanted to borrow 40 tons of utility coal.
It wasn't.
I think they actually ended up borrowing it from Harmony.
They borrowed from us because we loaned Zaley or Harmony 20.
Sorry, we gotta keep up on that. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, Ed knows. He and I talked about that today.
We already talked about it?
We talked about it today, yeah. So here is one of those instances where the annual road project, the budgeted amount was 500,000. The actual was 80. Sorry, my glasses are bad. 86.
86.
However, up here under supplies, that's significantly more, 367 versus 15,000 budgeted. And what ended up happening was the paving that occurred last year, 320 some thousand, got allocated to this line item versus the road project item. So it's not that, it was a significantly more amount, it was just put in the wrong basket again. So.
It's amazing what you guys have put together in a week.
Yeah.
Good work.
Well, this is how I spent my weekend, so.
No, thanks a lot. This is huge. I mean, I don't know, we did look at the 2026 budget without this information, but we got it going now, so.
Sure. But overall, obviously, your actuals, your total expenses to revenue, you did go over, but a significant portion of that is because, $1 million worth of land is in here. So the thing is though, that land, what should be on here are the payments for that land, not necessarily the purchase price. So that's the other thing moving forward. In future budgets, it will be the payments on that loan, not the full amount borrowed.
With the comment of what the full amount is.
Correct.
For the budgeted payments.
Right. And if if you're showing that expenditure here, you should show the income of that loan to balance it.
So how do we do this? Because we actually didn't spend that money. So, I mean, we borrowed.
Right.
So
So,
that's,
yeah,
this
so-
budget's not even right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So typically what you would do is you would say, you would only note, you would only budget the payments that you're going to be making towards that loan. You wouldn't necessarily budget the full dollar amount unless you were balancing that with the loan as
Are the
revenue.
closing costs on here? Are they broken out on here?
They're
Because
not,
I'm sure there were significant closing costs.
I'm sure there were, but
How do
it's,
you know what that is?
We can get that.
we'd have to find the document,
Okay.
but
We
yeah.
have the documents.
So that means technically you're 1.9 over budget with the cost of that building?
Well, actually, you're gonna subtract the one.
Yeah, you would subtract the building.
Yeah.
But-
Negative,
To her point,
because you only make
we should just be recognizing the payments, not the
Yeah.
purchase.
Yeah.
So obligation.
So you're still a little over budget, but you're not,
that was,
you're a couple $100,000 versus 1.3 million over budget.
The key is it's adding, there's a million that shouldn't be there.
wasn't an expense.
But there's also closing costs that aren't there.
Well, it could have been included in
probably
that
is.
closing cost.
Okay. But that would be a line item in the budget, the closing costs plus interest payments, not the $1 million loan.
Correct.
Well, right. So, and you probably financed those closing costs, honestly, unless
Did you
money
guys
was
finance
put
them or
down.
did you pay?
Or, you know.
So if you paid them,
Okay.
they should be.
Well,
alive.
then it might, yeah, it might be just one of those that we have to go back and look.
Okay.
I have a quick question. The loan wasn't for $1 million though, wasn't it?
Actually, it's for $2 million, but no matter what, I don't think it matters because that doesn't get included in the budget. The actual money you're spending.
The property was $1 million, correct?
Correct.
But there was $225,000 that was put down on it, right?
No, it wasn't that much.
I don't know the answer to that, but if it was, it should be here. That's what I'm asking for. We need to understand what was actually spent because this is not right. This is inaccurate.
Well, right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but you're
So,
right. I'm just confirming.
Unless
what you
that
said.
money was taken out of a reserve fund,
No, we didn't.
but I haven't seen that.
So
Was
what
it money taken from the Parks and Recreation to pay the down payment?
I don't know the answer to that. So did you put any money down on this? So there's no down payment?
Yes.
It's very minimal.
That's what she
Okay,
said.
and you did not finance the closing costs?
I think we paid the closing costs.
Okay, but that would be fairly significant on $1 million. Transfer tax, all that stuff, so, okay. There are probably other costs associated with legal fees and that. but
There were legal
Those would
fees.
fall under legal fees, I guess.
So if it was literally a straight $1 million, then this is 1,023,000. Sorry, again, my glasses are not great, so.
$1 million.
So that was, it looks like.
So that could
$23,000.
be, that could be your closing costs right there.
My guess is this was improperly entered as $1 million.
It's, yeah, without going back and digging further into it, I just don't have that answer
I'm
yet.
not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
talk it out
It's a
loud with
fair
everybody.
question, yeah, fair question.
That's a big 2,000%. About 20,000%.
Fortunately, that's an easy change, so. And one the auditors may have already made, honestly.
Yeah, they're asking us.
Are they already asked about it? Okay.
Okay,
Is
we
that
got
it?
the whole way to
Is
the
that
end?
good? Oh, we're ready to do that, say it.
You tell me?
Thank you, Bobby, that was excellent. For 5 days on the job, 6.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Sure, you're welcome.
So that completes the budget. Any public comment? I'm gonna ask you to please stand, state.
I have a couple things. First of all, this is very helpful. Thank you for letting us see it because, you know, a lot of times you can say, where's all the money go? Well, you can see it where it is. The conversation you were having about the tax per unit, I believe was 3% for Jackson Township and a couple surrounding townships. I would just encourage to, whatever they're doing, that we should probably match that because that's our competition, correct? Like, that's what other communities are doing, so why not? Builders are gonna build, they're gonna keep on developing, they're gonna keep building, so I would encourage you to get what you can. If not, it's gonna come on us eventually, I would think. The other thing is, when they put a new development in the roadways, is that paid for by the builder or the township, or how does that work? The builder, okay.
Builder puts it in and turns it over to the township or something.
And we maintain it, right?
When they get X percent, I think it's 90%, 100% filled, our rules, right? It had to be 90% filled before we started plowing.
Okay,
They have to maintain it prior to that.
I see, okay. But they install, they do all the
Correct.
the heavy work, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And ever after we pay for it.
Correct.
We do.
Yeah,
We do.
yeah, and the money coming in from the new residents from that plan as well, right? So that helps out. The 600 Perry Highway building, that was, I'm not familiar with it. So that was purchased for the future of like police and fire, is that correct?
Everything.
Everything.
So it would be administration, police, fire,
Okay.
public works.
Okay.
All of those.
Okay. And then just my last comment. You were talking about communication. My employer, we use a app called WhatsApp,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend it. I think it's very easy to use. It's a great communication tool, and so that would be my last little thing. So, but thank you again for doing this. It's nice to see that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a couple quick questions, if anybody else is going.
I just was gonna say thank you very much for doing this.
Yes.
I think it was
Very
best.
important.
I mean, do you find it beneficial? I mean, is it worth your time? Is there anything we can do to improve?
The only thing is, Pam could read the
Okay.
screen, so if, I know you don't wanna print out a bunch of the reports.
Maybe we can, yeah, we can look at a few of them.
If you could, for those people who are not able to see.
So she was not able to see it because of vision or because of the angle?
Too small.
Too small.
Yeah.
I can't get a bigger TV, that's the biggest one.
We do have Braille copies on.
Yeah. Noted, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody, any other comments?
Connie does.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Back to this, because as one of the township auditors, I actually questioned the township manager at the time. I said, why are there no actuals on the budget?
We've been asking that for years.
Yeah, we've changed that finance, all I can tell you.
Yeah, because I was like,
I don't wanna dwell on the past, but
That's why, look, budget versus budget means nothing.
exactly,
Literally.
yes, exactly right. And,
We understand.
real quick, couple comments here. One, on Friday, when the agenda for tonight's meeting was posted on the door, I noticed that it had 2 additional items than what was actually posted on the website. And it had one was, about, adding an ordinance or a resolution, I think it was, for single ingress and egress ordinance. That was removed, as well as the one for data center ordinance plans. They were on there for discussion.
We're gonna address those at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, and then I just have this here. This is a bunch of the comments I've been making over the last few years. Ignore the capital, I'm not yelling at you. It's just, I just copy and pasted. And this is just things that I have experience with the families, and you guys have had experience on this too, with the development of Scenic Ridge and Arden's Woods, and how to about protecting the residents and different things. And one of the biggest things I have on here, other than the retention ponds and the flooding and property damages and stuff, is that I noticed this in '24 when I was looking at doing some deep diving on those 2 developments, that the township had approved some drawings from September of '93. I know this was before a lot of you were here. On the original part of Arden's Woods, which the houses were built on Saltworks there. I think there was like 7 of them total. And those homes, I'm sorry, the drawings that were approved did not depict the buildings that were on my parents' property. They had something completely different. So, and the same thing happened, Scenic Ridge. They had a barn on the property near where my parents' house is. They didn't even have their house on there, which is 25 feet off a retention pond. So I think it's very important for the township engineer, the planning commission members, and the board of supervisors, and whoever else is involved, needs to take all of these drawings and go and compare them to everything that's there. So, but there's, like I said, there's other things. If you have any questions, discussions, feel free to contact me. The other thing is too, I noticed on here for a lot of, I noted on here for a lot of the residents, some may notice, some may not. But I've get some deep diving on the tax orders for the school district over the last, since 2014. Our taxes have went up 27.4 mils. It went up almost every year except for 2 years, 3 years, that was it, out of that time. And it's anywhere from 3 to over 5 mils. So I actually have it all broken down.
We don't.
You did preface that.
Okay.
But it's good to reiterate.
Yeah. But yeah, if a lot of people aren't aware of that, they just keep sitting there going up, yeah, but they don't realize how much they went up. And they're gonna go up how much
And
more.
look, this year, we were faced with the Harmony EMS. A lot of the local townships, and Bonnie, you know this, Harmony, Zaley, we were all asked to give $500,000.
Yes.
And we elected as a township to take that out of our budget and not increase the taxes. I'm pretty sure, Bonnie, you know better than I do, Jackson, Zaley, Harmony raised the tax $500,000.
A lot of municipalities in Butler County did that. So it's, yeah, but the other three that are covered under the fire district did
But
that.
we elected back in December not to raise the tax by $500,000. We took it out of our budget and we said, we'll find a way to make it. Now, for us, it wasn't huge, but we didn't raise taxes.
Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, look,
Related to that, one of the deals was we were gonna get to examine their.
We will be. Connie and Bonnie, change your name. Bonnie can speak to that.
Yeah, so that's over there. The Harmony EMS is coming under the oversight of the COG. I don't think they're officially under it yet.
Not yet.
COG is the council of governments. Okay.
But yeah, it's coming. It's what funded the position that I was in
That's why I
working.
keep referring to Bonnie for
Yeah.
for this information, because that was her job for 9 months.
11. But that's what funded the intermunicipal cooperation of all the municipalities is what funded the position, so that there was someone at the fire district and someone for the new stormwater authority, which Lancaster isn't part of. But that is something, there was, the COG looked at it as there's someone with eyes and ears in the fire district, and the fire district looked at it and said, we have representation in front of the COG. So it actually worked on both sides, and it was favorable. Now, Harmony EMS looks like they're gonna come under a similar agreement. They're not gonna have an employee that will have, be working directly for them. They have their own staff to do that, whereas the fire district didn't have any staff. But that new employee, whoever replaces me, will likely interface with their staff to make sure there's the same kind of oversight.
In other words, we'll have insight into their books.
Correct.
So how will that look? I mean, we're gonna get to see their budget and their actuals, kind of like we look here, or?
What I believe will happen is, yes, you'll see their budget, you'll see their finances.
Profit loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that's good. I mean,
That's
I was
what
gonna
I
try
think
to
will
answer
happen.
that question.
And as a person who, I was an employee of the COG, not a member of the board, so I can only tell you what I was told as an employee.
Didn't Morrisboro, instead of paying a millage, they just gave a one-time donation? Was that Mars that did that?
No, Mars is not part of it.
Somebody, no,
Well,
for the EMS.
Mars was actually the first in the quality ambulance service area to institute the tax.
Okay.
What they did was they also give a donation to the EMS company that matches and brings up a total, like a total amount given that I believe matches something similar to the subscription rate they get. Yeah.
So I sit on the COG, we have a meeting Wednesday. and we'll probably learn more about our insight into the amendment.
Another question then, this Saltworks Road issue that I've been hearing about for a couple years now, somebody theoretically designed the runoff system, and it wasn't us, right? It was in the state, somebody has to approve it.
I think that's our engineer.
Probably was our engineer.
Our engineer?
Yeah.
So it has to go back
I don't
to
know that
us.
for sure, but I would say yes.
So let me comment on about saltworks. So most people don't realize this, the saltworks was cut off, one, by 79. And two, it used to be a mining road. It was never designed as a regular road. They just took it, lined it a little bit, and it was like turned into farming road and everything. And then I believe it was in the early 2000s, they took and they paved, tried to fix some of the sinkholes and springs and stuff like that on the lower part of it towards 19. So they took and they paved it up so far. And then when they put in the well pad, then they made it paved a little more. Because there used to be ditches this high the whole way up on both sides of the saltworks. Well, now the road sits above those ditches in people's yards too. Then they came in, Scenic Ridge did whatever they wanted to do, the developer Weaver.
Saltworks isn't paved on.
No, it's not, you're correct, it's not paved, it's only paved up to Arden Drive now. Okay, because that's where the trucks would go back into the well pads. Yeah, so saltworks is not, and and honestly, rarely did it ever get plowed when I was a kid. Us and the Dorsey usually plow that road.
So moving forward, we covering ourselves on all these other developments that are gonna be happening, so we don't end up.
Well, that's the goal.
That's the intent.
Position or.
That's the intent.
Sooner or later, they're gonna ask us to pay for this stormwater runoff issue that Zillion Hope is having, that we're partially responsible for.
Can I kind of address that, and maybe Dave can help with that, is we have appointed a planning commission who, we have some amazing residents here who are really, really well educated. Dave was an engineer with the Army Corps of Engineers. We had, what did Meredith do? She was an engineer.
She's still employed with HDR. She's a water, like a hydraulic engineer, works on water lines, sewer lines, piping, things like that.
She was on the board, she was on 7 Fields, right?
And so we have Bob Brennan, who has an interesting take because he built developments, as everybody knows. But we've put a really good group of educated people onto that board. We've tasked them with looking at our SELDA, which is our subdivision land development ordinances, our zoning, and building a PRD. And they've put about 1.5 years into this at this point. And their attempt, and they've been tasked with building all 3 of those documents work well together. And we're using their engineering mind, their professional experience, their master's degrees, their doctor's degrees, to put together a set of ordinances that are hopefully going to stop problems like that from happening in the future, because there's going to be more development. So we're taking the time to really, really let them look at how we can do this in a way that protects the surrounding residents and avoids those runoff problems.
Ultimately, we're paying the price if it doesn't work out.
And all we can do is hire the best people we can. We've hired people with backgrounds in that. Listen, if I have a cavity, I'm going to a dentist. If we're building a PRD, I use that attachment. If we're building a PRD, the South Open Zoning Ordinance, we're going to take the engineers from our township. We're invested in the township to try to build that. We're going to trust them, and let them bring back a product that we can review, the residents can review, and hopefully protects all residents in the township. But they're still 6 months away.
I would say that's correct.
And I have to interject here too. I don't necessarily know that it's the planning commission's responsibility to avoid this. they certainly want to build designs, but it ultimately comes down to the engineer. I mean, the engineer, would you agree with that, Dave? It's not, I mean, the engineer's the one that makes the call.
We're coming up with a framework of what has to be followed, but it's up to the township engineers to ensure that whatever's being proposed by the developers is actually within compliance, not only with our ordinances, but with codes and everything else. And then county, and then once it's built, it's in compliance with the plan that we approved.
Right, I've sat in.
That's where, I think that's where Bonnie's brought up a lot of problems, is that the plan was probably fairly good, but what they actually got away with building in real time did not match that at all, and that's what caused all the problems.
Right, I think that's what Dr. Hamilton's asking about here. I don't think.
We've seen the plans that they were supposed to do that they didn't do.
Right, so I guess.
And the township didn't do their part of it.
Right, well, I don't know.
To make sure that they did what they were supposed to do.
So I think it's a problem. I don't necessarily agree with Rich about how it's going to be resolved through the planning commission. I think we really need, as supervisors, to focus on our engineer and making sure the engineers stick into the plans. Because, quite frankly, I worked on the last comprehensive plan, and we thought we had this drilled down nicely. And yeah, there was definitely some weaknesses. It was an over comprehensive plan, but ultimately, a developer came in. He said, "This is what I want to do," and I'm simplifying it quite a bit. And the engineer says, "Okay," and that's how we ended up with Salt Lake Road. So that same exact thing can happen right now. Even if you guys mastermind our ordinances in Saldo and PRD, it comes down to I don't know the correct answer, but I think we need to address it at some point in time. The engineer, I think our engineer dropped the ball. I don't care, and I got nothing against our engineer. I'm just something really went wrong here. I mean, it's really bad.
Yeah, and to paint the picture, well, if you're 100% right, Mike. It's the engineer, it's the planning commission, it's the zoning officer. What we have to do is we have to build a better team with educated people, and nothing comes down to one player. It doesn't come down to the planning commission, it doesn't come down to the engineer, it comes down to the whole team. And that's what we've been working hard. I hope you see that. We're trying to build a better team and a better business here at the township that's able to go forward into a world that's going to be different than it is now in 10 years, undeniably. So
how close are we monitoring? I mean, the developer's gonna cut corners everywhere he can to make a bigger dollar. Somebody monitoring the road,
Well, I
is he
think
putting
that's
in the right kind of base?
Well, that's basically that. So for the roads, we have very strict specifications. I'm not worried about the roads necessarily, although they put me through scenic ridge and those roads are coming apart.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so maybe our standards need to be updated for roads, but I don't know the legality of that. So we have to check, does it break the Pennsylvania municipal code requirements? So, but more importantly, I know Dave's gone down and looked at the dump off place and saw, I mean, I remember watching that be built, and I'm like, how did anybody allow this? I don't know if you've been to Onslow Works and seen how, but regardless, you've gone to the site. I think Connie brought up earlier that maybe we should go too, when something like this comes up. Go and walk the properties. I think we're physically capable of doing this.
It was very enlightening when I went.
Oh, it blows my mind.
Heard Connie explaining it, Uncle came in and addressed the board one time. Once I got there and saw what was allowed to happen,
I don't understand it. It is baffling to me. But yet, it's not, planning commission can't do anything to change that. I don't care what you put in. Most likely, you're not going to be able to change anything. So, how do we address it? To answer your question, how do we prevent that from coming again? I guess us as supervisors, because we're ultimately in charge, we've got to get there. I don't know. It might be too late. I mean, we might have gone down there and said, "Hey, you're doing this wrong."
more aggressive oversight and enforcement of what's actually on the plans that we approved.
And I don't know.
More scrutiny when they come back with a change. They just didn't change it. They had to get approval to change it.
Exactly.
And we let them do that.
Can you get some kind of bond?
There is a bond. There's a bond. Yeah.
There's a bond.
But it's not built.
No, and here's the thing, it's quoted in the court document that Brett Schultz from Weaver Development turned to the Judge Door and said, "We're only making $30,000 a unit. We will do what we want when we want.
Yeah, so anyhow, we have to, it's a really good point, and it's something I think, personal to me, because I'm running down to Dunhouse, they do all my machine work, so every day I can go see that, every time I'm down, this just drives me up the wall. Now, had I not seen it, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but, I see it, 2 or 3 times a week. They don't say anything about it, I just look at it. This is done. I remember what it used to look like 30 years ago, but anyhow, I hope that answers your question. I don't know.
We can do a better job, what we think we need.
Right.
If we think we need this, then we need 110%.
All I can say is keep coming to these meetings, and when there's plans developed, like I know a lot of people speak up. I mean, there's been people saying, hey, listen, these retention ponds are not right here. We have to listen to them. We have to take it in. So, yes, sir.
Thank you. As an old person, and I love Lancaster Township the way it was. I know we can't stop development, but you were talking about that 1% fee on a new building. Could Lancaster Township get away with making it 3%?
I think that would probably, like this gentleman mentioned here, what's your name, sir?
My name's Dave.
Dave. He had mentioned that, try to simulate what another local township has, and I think everybody, the board supervisors agree with that. So I
That's not be
can,
the cheapest place for the developers to go.
that's obviously my goal. So that's why I'm referring to the Sewickley Borough one. There's 2 reasons. One, it's simple. I like simple. And number 2, it is definitely the most lucrative for the township.
If you could.
But 3%, I think you're going to be pushing it. I don't think
If
we're
you
going to.
could do something to discourage them from coming here.
I don't think you can discourage it.
3% of $1 million house, we're just gonna pass it on to the builder,
Right.
the whole. What's 3% on $1 million? It's a rounding error. They don't care.
Right.
But that's why we should do it.
But as Connie said, the school taxes are going up because everybody is allowing development.
Our taxes haven't gone up. School taxes have gone up.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
difference.
what she said.
Yeah.
Because everybody allows developments in their township.
So we
We've got
can't-
Lancaster, Jackson.
I feel for you. I understand what you're saying. Trust me. I wish it. If you read the article I wrote in the Lancaster Link 20 years ago, it's like, I told people to get involved then. I mean, it was, you can't stop development, but you can control it and make it nice, but you can't stop it. And the other thing is kind of a bummer. You have to have a place for every type of development. So you can't say Lancaster Township can't have an industrial area. Lancaster Township can't have low-income housing. You have to have every.
We have to homogenize.
Well, that's the law. Unfortunately,
That's things.
it's not our law, it's the state law.
I mean, I've been in the township now for 63 years. And this, I didn't catch the name, H Place?
Yes,
Where is that?
that's gonna be down below low.
South of log cabin.
Okay. I wondered if that was it whenever you were talking. I didn't hear the name of it before.
So do you like this format? Is this helpful to you? No, I mean, as a long-term resident of the township, I'm asking, do you like this format? Is this helpful to you?
This has been nice.
Okay.
I mean, some of it has been as clear as mud to me, but
I think it's we're learning.
appreciate the fact that you're being transparent about what's happening.
And thank the other supervisors, because they've agreed to do this.
Yeah, this has been, I came to the other township meetings and it was like one of the dogfight.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go that way. So can I just want to kind of address 2 of the things, because I know we had the 2 items that were removed from the agenda. And the only one I would really want to talk about was the single egress, and especially since Mr. Carlson's here. I think there's some misunderstanding of what transpired. Rich, I think you mentioned that they never spoke about this before. And the single egress ordinance. And we had talked, I'll let Dave comment on this, but this, and also I think you had a misunderstanding about the number of homes. You said that somebody told you 50. Okay, so.
And I do think we agreed not to talk about it tonight.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I just want to clarify.
And it's not a matter of transparency, it's a matter of the 3 of us come to terms as to what we're gonna discuss on it. So we spoke about this topic and chose not to speak about it tonight.
So here's what I have for the next agenda, which will be.
Yeah, sorry, I lost.
April, that's okay. So I have on here income asset review, which we kind of touched on.
Yep.
Some cost savings ideas and plans that we have, procurement policies, a transportation impact fee, and then the saldo planning for ingress, egress, and data centers.
I'd like to look at it as well. And maybe Bonnie can put this together, because we touched on it today, an analysis of how a development like Page Place impacts our budget, both in revenue and expense over a 5-year window. Just so we have some idea of how much money it's costing us and how much we're potentially going to have to pay in taxes if we bring a place like Page Place into the township.
Do we have any place, we don't have any place for townhouses. So what would we use as a reference? What would Bonnie use as a reference?
You can just use the real estate transfer taxes,
Okay.
real estate taxes.
Why not? I'm covering the income.
Permit fees, earned income, impact fees.
We'll give us a ball.
Those would be on the revenue side, just hand-grenade numbers. Expenses.
That's
to
what I was
take-
looking for.
Expenses to take over, the roads. What other expenses would we? We'll have to sit down and talk about it.
Okay, yeah, because I'd be curious on expenses. The revenue would be easy to calculate. The expenses might be like, do we have to maintain any of the property when we take it over, or is there a homeowners association?
Yeah, we need to know all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
And the maintenance of those ponds, who's ultimately responsible for the retention ponds? And to ensure that
They should, the homeowners.
well, I know.
Homeowners.
How do
Should.
we, how do I just ask them, because if the homeowner doesn't, and some kid falls in the pond and drowns or whatever, you know?
Yeah, we want.
That falls on the homeowner.
That falls on the homeowners.
It has to be fenced and.
Yeah, just because it ties into
Budget.
We're talking a lot about how we can save money going forward, but we need to know what the budget looks like each year as the township changes and how much we're gonna have to raise taxes or.
You don't have to say that.
No,
See, I was in sales.
Just trying to be honest.
No.
What's the budget look like forecast?
Revenue and expense wise, and how we can refund residents.
Now you're talking.
Sales.
So, any other questions, comments?
It was really good. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that concludes the agenda, so I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate your
inviting us.
time, your attention, and I appreciate that you care.